Okay, we do homework 2, part 1, problem 4, asking for some customized statistic for each job type. Uh, there are two things in problem 4 asking for is number in the systems, the number of jobs, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the system in the red job, and average flow time, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the each type of other job, I think. Didn't have anything for. Okay, we can do this. First, we take care of how to do the number of parts in the system. We need to keep track of the number of parts in the system, for example, for each type of job. And let's create a integer number. And this is what do we call number in system? We call it, sorry, we call it as state variable as a skillet. And by default, we want to keep track for each one of those. So actually, I want 5 of those. So this is one for the red job, and then consequently for all the 4 different types of jobs. Okay. So when we have a part coming into the system, when the part comes into the system, we increase this variable by 1 corresponding to which row it is. And if it's part leaving the system, we decrease that corresponding row by 1. So let's see how we're going to do. Alright, we're ready to show you how to do this. For this other job, initially we can add to the third one. Okay. Here what we have is trying to increase the corresponding counter by 1. See how that's going to go. So what we do is the model, the state variable. See, we just define number in the system, which row it is, which row depends on my table part. Okay. ID should be plus 1. Okay. So this is whatever ID plus 1, which is job number 1 will be second row, job number 2 will be third row, and so on and so forth. And same thing. Okay, it's typing. Same thing over here, doing the state variable number in the system. Okay, and using this same thing plus 1. Okay, copy this over, using later on. So that's increment each one the corresponding row by 1. For the red job, similar situation. Adding 1 of those. Do the state variable thing. number system. This is for row number 1. I can just say this is the first row. That'll be fine. Okay. So actually, when we leave the system, we're going to do the same. And instead of an increase by 1, I'm going to decrease by 1 in that case. So what we do is when we create a new entity, we increase the corresponding state variable by 1. When we're leaving, we decrease the corresponding row by 1. After setting up a state variable to keep track of 5 different entity, actually 2 different entity, one with the 4 different job type, we go on to define the elements right here. So first we're going to define 4 different state variable. Basically, we're going to call it number of in the system. Call number in system. Called job 1. Okay, I'm going to copy this. Job 2. And copy this. Job 3. And job 4. Need one more, so this is for the red job. Okay, and each one of those corresponding to the state variable name, we're going to call number system row 1. This is for row 2. So on and so forth. Okay, I'm not going to finish this. You can go ahead and finish that. Also, I'm going to define 4 different tally statistic to calculate flow time. So come up here, actually 5, and I'm going to call it tally statistic. I'm going to do only 2, for example. Tally statistic for maybe job 1. We call it flow time, for example, or time in the system. Okay, and both job 2, for example, each one of them has based on time, and calculate this for job 1, for example. Category is flow time, and data item is time in system. Okay, similar situation. Doing this, make sure you do time unit is time, and data source is could be job 2, and data item flow time M. Data item is time in system. Sorry, in system. Same thing for these. Okay. Corresponding data source called job 1. Category is throughput. Okay. And data item is number in system. All right. Similar situation for that. This tied into maybe this and row 3, basically category. This is for job 2. Category is the throughput. And the item will be number in the system. All right, so we show you a couple of those. Now we're trying to show you how the tally statistic and where they're going to be collected. It's the easiest way to go to the input node for the sync. Okay, do the tally statistic there. When come into the system or access to the system, that doesn't matter because there's no processing time here. We're going to adding a tally statistic. Instead of doing this, I'm going to have a customer condition. Okay. So here, what is the condition we trying to say? Table parts. The ID, for example, equals to 1. I'm going to collect a specific tally statistic. So for example, doing for the job 1. Okay. Expression is basically is model entity time in the system. Okay, and we can create a next one. Change this to customer condition and table parts. Specify which part and its ID equals to 2. So this is the condition. If ID equals to 2, we looking for a specific tally. And this part will be model entity again and time in the system. Okay, just to illustrate how this is done, then you can collect this to help yourself organize your result. So make sure you specify the proper so-called data source, categories, and data item. These are just for your own references, so you see those in the result section. Okay, I'm not going to complete the entire problem solution, just give you some hint how to get started. We're going to conclude this section.